just start off with the.
Sure, sure.
Good evening to all the speakers, to all the construction professionals who have logged in, and to the speaker who has accepted our invitation to be here with us and share his experiences on precast construction. In fact, if we look at it, we know that from in situ concrete, we have gone to ready-mix concrete, and now is the age of precast concrete. So we have our speaker for the day, Dr. S. Kodandaraman, who is the principal of Pondicherry Engineering College at Pondicherry. In fact, more than academics, he has got a lot of experience in the construction field. Dr. S. Kodandaraman has more than 35 years of teaching experience. He is also well recognized as a structural consultant in the regions of Pondicherry and Tamil Nadu. He started his engineering career in PWD, Tamil Nadu, and then worked as senior engineer in Gammon India Limited. He also served as a lecturer in CIT Coimbatore for a brief period of time before joining Pondicherry Engineering College. He contributed to growth of the department and the college as well as in various capacities before getting the elevation as principal. He is a fellow member in Institution of Engineers India, life member in Indian Society for Technical Education, life member of Indian Concrete Institute, life member of Institute for Steel Development and Growth, and chartered engineer in Institution of Engineers India. He has guided more than 40 postgraduate dissertation works and guided 6 PhD scholars. He was the chairman of ICI Pondicherry Center. He was the founder, honorary secretary of IE Puducherry State Center. He is member of state level Heritage Conservation Committee. He was a member of State Disaster Management Committee, Government of Puducherry. He has coordinated with PWD, Government of Pondicherry for a number of projects in sorting out technical issues and solved a number of industrial structural programs in and around Pondicherry and Tamil Nadu. He has offered structural consultancy for a number of major projects. Apart from this, he is continuously delivering technical lectures to refresh the knowledge of engineers, architects, and builders in Pondicherry and Tamil Nadu. So that's a brief profile of the speaker of the day. Now, before going to the speaker, let me also brief you about the initiatives that Ramco Cements has been taking over the last few days since the lockdown was declared. We had a number of webinars starting from the blended cement by Dr. Pasla of IIT Bhubaneswar. Then we had a session on risk management by Dr. Premanand Shanai. Smart cities we had. Then we had a talk on architectural by Padma Shri Dr. S. Shankar from Trivandrum. Also, we had a conference of 4 days on organized by Indian Geotechnical Society and Association of Consulting Civil Engineers on various aspects of geotechnical engineering. We also had sessions on reinforcement detailing, practical aspects in handling concrete by Mr. L.S. Kannan from IIT. Then we had a number of panel discussions wherein senior consultants from Bangalore, engineer Basavaraj, then we had Dr. Ajit Sabnis, Dr. M.U. Ashwath, and many number of professionals. Even from Mysore, we had a number of members from Association of Consulting Civil Engineers. We had academicians from National Institute of Engineering as well as SJC speaking to us. So over the last few days, the number of webinars that we have conducted has brought all of us together in the pursuit of sharing of knowledge. So that's what we have been doing over a number of years. We have been conducting number of meetings, number of get-together, so that the sharing of knowledge can happen. Of course, we cannot have the physical proximity now. We cannot organize conferences like we have been doing earlier. But I'm sure that this kind of virtual experience will fulfill the objective and keep us engaged. And at the same time, it would enable us to give a lot of ideas. In fact, if you look at civil engineering and each of the branches in civil engineering, it is like an ocean. And the number of perspectives that each one of us get after listening to each of the speaker, I'm sure that there are a number of takeaways that we can get. So with those words, let me just inform all of us that being construction professionals, we need to update our knowledge. if there is any problems that we face in construction projects, we know that there are experts who are there, whether it be in the area of repair and rehabilitation. In fact, there was a talk on repair and rehabilitation on NDT in concrete structures. So the thing is that there's so many things that we can get it. Only thing is that we must spend some time for it, think over it, put our brains together, and I am sure that a lot of things will emerge out of this. And yes, this calamity has come. We have been facing this problem for the last 2.5 months, and this kind of problem, very difficult to face, but almost all of us have to overcome. And in this regard, Ramco Cements has also taken a number of measures. In fact, we have supported number of organizations, number of states in the corporate social responsibility. If you look at the kind of this thing that we have given for different states, Ramco has contributed to the Chief Minister's Relief Fund. The company has taken care of about 8,000 workers, including 6,000 from North India. And meanwhile, when the pandemic became worse, Ramco Cements helped the local administration under its corporate social responsibility initiatives. Groceries were distributed to the underprivileged living around the factories. It also helped set up isolation wards in places like Tamil Nadu and in Odisha. It supplied cots, beds, infrathermal scanners, 3-layer masks, gloves, and sanitizers to the governments. All this, of course, was done under the leadership of our management and our Chief Executive Officer took special interest in getting all this done. So this is the corporate social responsibility that the activities that we have been doing, and I am sure that all of us together can come out of this crisis. So let me go to the speaker of the day, Professor S. Kodandaraman, Principal, Pondicherry Engineering College, who would be talking to us about precast concrete, which all of us know is one of the emerging field, and many of the places it has been used, we have seen. In fact, amongst the variety of cement that we manufacture, amongst the 12 varieties of cement that we manufacture, Ramco Superfast is the cement that we have customized for precast concrete. And we have seen that we have supplied to many of the precast units in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Kerala. And few of the requirements that they had was that faster removal of formwork. That was first requirement that they had. They wanted number of blocks per bag to be increased. So if you look at from economical perspective, from the production cycle perspective, as well as from the finishing perspective, we have been able to get number of feedback from the construction professionals as far as Ramco Superfast is concerned. So let us understand more about precast concrete by the expert, and let me take the pleasure of inviting Professor S. Kodandaraman to this webinar, to this 30-second webinar organized by Ramco Cement. Over to you, sir, to speak about precast concrete, the sustainable choice. I welcome you to this webinar, sir. Thank you.
Very good evening. I welcome all online audience for this webinar on precast concrete, the sustainable choice. At the outset, I would like to thank wholeheartedly the organizers of this program, Mr. Sunil Kumar Pillai, Suraj Kumar, and Panpurapu, for having given me the rare opportunity of meeting through online number of audience who are in need of knowledge, acquire knowledge on this special topic, namely precast concrete, the sustainable choice. In fact, I was asked to give a topic for this program. So I was thinking of various possible topics, and then usually under Ramco Cement, having arranged a number of technical seminars and awkward lectures, I thought we will take something away from the direct cement. Instead, I thought we can go for concrete, that is the precast concrete, which is a component by which structures are being formed. And here, to start with, the very first question what comes to our every mind is why the precast concrete? We have been talking about the advantages of the precast concrete, and both technical and financial advantage. there are a number of advantages are there. And in spite of it, the extent of being the acceptance or being practiced in the society, the industry is not that much. It is very minimal. But in spite of it, we try to project this material so that in the future we may pick up and will attain certain targets what we are really planning. That's what in fact I kept in my as the core idea in my presentation, which will last for about an hour. So here, generally, what precast concrete, any product that is, there was a mental mind block that whether it is not possible that if we go for precast construction, it is not possible that we can have the facilities or the finishes as that of the in situ construction. But today that is all ruled out, that it is possible that we can create any form as we feel, as we like, as we will. Okay, and that's what we see the different forms of structures here. You just here it is a residential complex, office complex, in which we find the finish of concrete is something like metallic. Okay, so and here again we find very architecturally very aesthetic finish has been brought out of the precast construction. And so another here we are just having a look at a pedestrian bridge. It's a very recently completed building structure which is in Philadelphia, which is one that is best non-highway bridge harness under the segment of precast stressed concrete Institute 2020 Design Awards program. And here this the same bridge under construction, and here again we see that. Okay, so generally we see after having looking at the finished product, we are very much fascinated to see the precast buildings and structures, but then the extent with which we are practicing in the industry is certainly very minimal. And apart from finish and all, we also say that we minimize the time. Once we minimize the construction time, we maximize our profit and so on and so forth. Okay, and so here there is a small comparison between the time taken by the in situ construction as well as the precast construction. But it is only an indicative percentage of time saving. But then it is always in the hands of the engineers and the team. They can try to widen the gap between these two ranges of time. Here, my essential perspective that why precast concrete we should always look for, why not kind of in situ construction? Okay, for which the main the underlying principle, what I very seriously believe is the sustainability. Okay, that is what is very important thing. Now, the concrete has to perform in three different ways while it is in service. Okay, that we should try to understand. One is a concrete should have its adequate strength as per the designer's recommendation. We fix it. And the second most, the performance of the concrete, that it should have adequate bond strength. Unless concrete is able to adequately hold the steel in its position, the stress transfer cannot effectively take place. And in that case, the composite action cannot be ensured. And therefore, the structure cannot perform its job. And therefore, a minimum binding strength, bond strength should exist between the concrete and the steel interface. And the third one is the durability. These are the three essential performance the concrete or the quality that concrete should possess, so that the intended purpose of a reinforced concrete system is ensured, achieved. And the list looks very small, and out of these three categories, the first two are related to the mechanical characteristics of the concrete, that is the strength and the bond strength. When you say the strength, it's essentially the compressive strength, and another one is the bond strength. So here, to satisfy these two criteria, okay, today we are not having any difficulty. There are no issues related to achieving the desired strength. There are no issues related to ensuring the bond strength, because we are able to easily nowadays achieve the M60, MC80 complete in the field very easily, very simple manner, and even achieving 100 MPa strength today in Indian scenario in an average construction site is also not a tedious task today. And with the high strength steel, ribbed bar and all, and ensuring the bond strength is also not an issue. And the third one is the durability, which is the inherent quality of the material. And another part of while comparing these two properties, mechanical properties, the durability or characteristic of the material is related with the influence of the nature, because when a material is exposed to the environment, it has to withstand the environmental forces. Because of the environmental forces, material degrades. Once the material degrades, the steel will start corroding, or steel will start degrading, and one damage will complement the other, and eventually the structure will lose its strength and stability. And here, when we want to ensure that is the structure is having, or the material is having adequate durability, and it is related with the forces of environment. And at this juncture, many of us, or rather most of the situations, we miserably fail. Why? Because we know pretty well the material what we are producing, namely the concrete and steel, are all being extracted from the natural resources, and we convert them into a different compound. And then using which we produce the concrete, and using which we produce the steel, then using which we produce the reinforced concrete system. Now, the end product is completely an artificial system, completely against the form of the nature. Now, the reinforced concrete is having any natural traces. It's all totally, it is an artificial. Now, the nature is trying to convert the concrete to manufacture the concrete. We need cement. For manufacturing cement, we need calcium carbonate, and that is a very parent material, raw material from which it is all extracted and made. And the nature is trying to gradually convert the concrete, that is CaCO3 we are taking, we are converting it to CaO, then CaOH3. Then again, nature is trying to convert it to CaCO3. It trying to take it back. Similarly, the Mother Earth is trying to take it back. Similarly, in the case of steel, we extract, do all these things, and finally, the rest, again, the steel, the corroded products go back to the earth. So this is what the nature is trying to convert these two, steel and concrete, to its original form, and that is what we really try to understand, appreciate. Unless we understand this situation, we will not be able to ensure that the end product, what we are giving, is going to serve for a long period of time, or a sustainable period of time. And here, how to ensure the durability. So here, that when we talk about trying to address why the precast concrete is important, we should understand, essentially appreciate, understand the essential advantages of having the precast concrete. In the Indian scenario, how it's very important that we have the Prime Minister Awas Yojana, in which we try to ensure by that is by 2050, that is all the homeless situation should not exist in Indian subcontinent. That's the idea. And the first one is try to understand the material characteristics very well, and then here under this material, not only the cement and steel, we should also appreciate the other components like sand as well as the coarse aggregate. In the recent days, we are facing the problem of the scarcity of sand. But actually, the problem is not due to the non-availability of sand, but the essential issue is that we are not able to understand what exactly the fine aggregate or the river sand is performing in the concrete system. And in case if you want to, if you are not going to use the sand, then what substitute material we can bring in so that it can perform the role as that of the cement, as that of the river sand. So then it's only lack of knowledge and it is not really the lack of material. And similarly with regard to the coarse aggregate. And the second most important thing is that we should appreciate the specification of the materials of concrete and the concrete making process. Okay. And in this regard, with a great sanctity, we should understand the specifications, how to make, we should prepare the concrete, and what are the concrete making process. Because these are the things we compromise in the construction site, thereby the quality is reduced. We are not able to ensure the required durability of the concrete. And follow the specifications of the concrete casting process and appreciate the curing process. Here I would like to emphasize on the curing. The term of the curing, I often, every time I used to emphasize the term curing because we normally do the curing process by spraying water or putting in the specimen in a tub, or steam curing or chemical curing. There are a number of methods, or fogging, and many methods are available. But that is not so important to discuss at this juncture. The most important part is, why do we describe this as curing? The sense, unless we do the process, the concrete is already having a problem that cannot be cured, and that problem will magnify over a period of time. And cure it now, and like we cannot say, it is impossible saying.
I think there is a connection problem. The speaker was talking about precast construction, and he was just talking about how to ensure durability. It will take a couple of minutes for him to come back because of the connectivity issue. Precast construction, I think now all of us would have. Yeah, sir, there is some problem actually in the audio. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Vasinat, can I mute
Yes.
Dr. Shivanandam sir's video so that it will help us with the relay? Can I mute your video, sir? I will do it from my end.
So that you will have bandwidth also, sir. Yeah. So that there was an audio problem.
Please continue, sir.
Yeah. Shall I continue?
Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah.
You can, sir. Yeah. You're talking about the curing process. Yeah.
And of course, then we should also maintain the system, the concrete is continuously in a proper manner. Okay. Now coming to the historical background, and as such, precast concrete is not a new concept or anything, but it is the first man-made structure is basically a prefabricated structure that we know it is the structure what we are looking at. The slide is more than 5,000 years old. And similarly here we see the Ireland precast system, and it is a replica. On the left side we have the replica of the sweet track. What we see on the right hand side is the sweet track, and here we see the temples of South India. You just see all precast construction only, and it is of course the new age construction. Okay, therefore precast construction is not all the more altogether new concept or idea which is brought in our mind, but we have been practicing as the civilization grows from the beginning. And now over a period of time, due to technological growth and then our conceptual changes in our concepts and approaches, things have been modified, and we are almost, I think, we are the cycle we are closing. And so here coming to the type of systems, fundamentally it is a large panel system and a frame system, slab column system with walls, and mixer system. These are the things. Okay. Now I'm coming to the large panel system. Almost a slab as high as that of a small dwelling house. It may be lifted and placed in position. And we see small photographs here. Just we can, of course, here not only the size is impressing us, but again the surface finish. No, that's all the more very important. That's going to matter. Particularly the finishes are very important. And the handling process is also been given very every standard or every reference books. We find the different methods of handling the materials or the precast elements. And then coming to the frame system, and here we see various components. So every component is done, and right from the footing to the rooftop, the components can be precast and transported, erected, placed in position. The structure is formed. And here we find the gable frame, portal frames, and here we find the gable frame structure, industrial environment, large space is created. And here the pre-fabrication process, the essential flow diagram is given, but in fact this is a small subset in the complete domain, because we know in the precast construction process, right from the planning of the structure and the design, and the next part is the construction process. In the construction, we identify the casting of, the different components, casting a order, then casting in a particular order, and then material resources, and then stacking the material, then transportation, erection, and delivery. So it's a very big sequence of activities, out of which, but here I am taking only the crucial activities directly addressing to the precast system, not as a system for the precast construction project. Okay, and here we see the industrial environment wherein we have the molds are there for casting various components, particularly the panels, maybe wall panel or roof panel. Everything, of course, we can cast it in the horizontal molds. The steel reinforcement is placed, and concrete is poured, and it is cured. Of course, here it is, of course, finished and then cured, and being transported, erected, and so on. Okay, so that's what we find. There's a very large components are being transported. Here in engineering, seeing the main challenge lies on the part of the engineers is that the efforts taken to safely transport such massive structural components. Here it is pre-stressed tendons we see in the diagram, the photograph. And again, it involves here when we are manufacturing the precast components, we handle them in a workshop, and where we have to handle the material and the component. Then after that, we should transport it, for which a separate set of equipments, cranes, depending upon the nature of job being executed, we employ appropriate handling devices. Okay, here we have the gantry crane, derrick ship, so on, and self-launching erection crane. Of course, with regard to the launching and other things, I really do not have personal experience, though I was involved in the construction of a precast cooling tower, Vizag steel plants, but such a large material, heavy materials are the components I have not encountered or handled. And in precast construction, the most important part is we come to the connections. Okay, so this is where we actually the essential difference between the reinforced in situ construction and the precast constructions differ. Okay, in situ construction, the joints are made monolithic, and here what we see in this particular joint, there is a column on either side of the two pins. There are nibs, that we don't call it as corbel, we call them as nibs, and the beam is kept there. And of course, part of the in situ concreting will be done at the joint region. But however, the column and beam are not monolithically cast or constructed, and that is where the analysis will be different compared to the regular frame analysis. And then with regard to the different types of joints, it may be classified as a compressive joint. Here is a situation wherein we have the compressive joint, and here it is a direct compression, but it is subjected to different types of forces, that is shear. And then we have the tensile joint, wherein this to connect two members to transmit the tensile force, and shear joints. So here the shear is transferred along the pull action. This is how it is done. And then flexural and torsional joints. So these are the four types of joint really we encounter. That is based on the nature of force being transferred from one member to the other member. And then with regard to the direction of forces, I mean direction at which the joint being affected, we say the vertical joint and the horizontal joint. And then based on the nature of concession method, or we call it as the wet joint and the dry joint. Here the wet joint is nothing but the in situ concrete is done between the different components being united. And in the case of dry joint, we don't do it. Instead, we either do the grouting or we do bolting, and with the bolt or nut, it is their members are connected. And here we find a column to column connection. Okay, that is on the left side diagram. We find that two precast components of protein, and at the vicinity of the region, we have the steel plates and closely placed lateral ties, and there is a shims, and then we place it in position. The nut is by a nut it is connected. Then it is the joint is packed with grouting. Okay, and this is actually a dry joint. Okay, and here again we find a connection between beam to beam, beam to beam connection, and of course we ensure a plate is embedded at the time of casting itself. A steel plate is embedded, and then it is connected. And you can also see the reinforcement details in the beam. It looks identical to that of Corbel, but epoxy is very small in nature because the magnitude or load being handled is very nominal. And here we find the slab to beam connection, wherein the hollow core slab is being placed, and at the joint we provide again, sometimes we can even provide the concreting, and grouting may also be done possible. So when we talk about this one, the beam column joints, we would like to share our in-house experience. Okay, this is what exactly the point I would like to discuss fundamentally. After having seen the preceding slides, wherein the components of the columns and beams are connected, not connected with the monolithic construction, in the sense that structurally they are not capable of transferring the forces from one member to the other member. Okay, and if the components are monolithically connected, there is a possibility that moment redistribution can take place. Okay, if the moment redistribution, what are the advantages of having a moment redistribution? So here if you look at the design philosophies, we were doing earlier working stress design, then we went to the ultimate strength design, then we have come to the limit state design, and the next one is the performance based design. And of course, performance based design, it's still except in certain in countries like New Zealand and the US and other countries, it is not being widely practiced, and it varies with the consultant to consultant. And it is not an accepted practice of designing the structures based on the performance-based concepts. The reason is there are difficulties understanding the underlying principles behind it. And in fact, this the moment redistribution is almost addressing to the performance-based structure. So when you see the performance-based structures, when they are subjected to forces to the eventual magnitude, okay, and the structure, the components will undergo a large extent of deformations. So under that situation, the forces will be appropriately transferred from one member to the other member. That we call it as the moment redistribution. Okay. So within the member itself, the moment redistribution will be taking place. Unless until the moment redistribution takes place, the plastic hinge mechanism may not be able to take place. Okay. And here in this juncture, we should try to recollect one important aspect, that in the case of the method by which we are constructing the precast construction, in which the joints are not really monolithic. Okay. And that means the precast structure cannot be as efficient as that of the frames constructed like monolithic one. But even then, it is able to exhibit a reasonable percentage of financial advantage apart from the other advantages. Okay. Now, if you are able to ensure a performance of the structure or the joint almost similar to that of the in-situ construction, in that case, the extent of advantages, that is technological advantage as well as the performance advantage, will be really magnifying and really mind-boggling. And towards that target, then wonderful work was done. Of course, though it was actually done at MTech level, dissertation work was carried out. So in that, what we did was that we try to imagine that the situation is like actual precast construction situation, wherein the development length of the rods from the beams and the bottom rods of the beam were bent up to the upward side, and the top rods of the beam were bent down and brought inside the joint. And of course, it is not possible to have a dry joint as a monolithic construction. It should certainly be a wet joint. Concreting, certain amount of concreting has to be done at the construction site, but the extent of concreting to done will be equal to the extent of development length of the total rod. So that's it, and that is done. If that is done, then we can ensure that the components, the joint will behave identical to that of the monolithic construction that we have experimentally verified, and it has satisfactorily performed. So that's the beauty I would like to share with you. And in fact, we wanted to get a patent for that process. That's why it has not been elaborately discussed here. And otherwise, no, the method of process, and even some field engineers who are also exposed to experience with the precast construction were also invited for discussion. And they appreciated, they agreed it is possible that it can be straight away extended to the field practices. Okay. So if you are able to do that, then certainly the benefit can be extended to a very great extent. Number one. Number two, all along we have been seeing the slides. No, my background of the slide, a part of it is a rough surface, another part of it is smooth surface background. And in fact, in this regard, we have also done it is a PhD level work called the controlled permeable formwork liner. And of course, this concept on this topic, namely the CPF liner, possibly we can discuss at length the historical background, how originally the first concrete, how it was conceived, how it was done, and how it has transformed into different stages after the introduction of the needle vibrator and palm vibrators and so on and so forth. And how do you do today? And many things are forgotten, and we are practicing a different form. But under this context of CPF, controlled permeable formwork liner, in the precast elements are manufactured in a controlled environment. And if these liners are used in the molds, so the very purpose of using this liner is that to have this, not only to have the external appearance, what you see on the diagram, that is on the left hand side, you have the surface with a lot of blemishes, pinholes and blowholes. On the right hand side, you have a smooth finish. Okay. At microscopic level, we just estimated the surface irregularity. The one which was cast with the CPF liner, that is right hand side photo, it was having 2% of the surface blemishes, but on the other side, and it was around 20 times more blemishes were found, quantified. Not only the surface finish, there are also other characteristics are entirely different, And this material, this concrete, which was manufactured using the CPF line, was able to exhibit wonderful durable characteristics compared to the concrete cast with the traditional former. Okay. And so this is the second in-house experience. And the third one is the material. Of course, geopolymer concrete is not only our, it is everywhere it is being practiced, but in our institute, two of our faculty members have also been working on geopolymer concrete. These only just bring the material. Now, if do this material, of course, we know the difficulties of having the limitations of practicing, extending this concrete to the field is that as in situ material, this cannot be used. Curing is an issue. Okay. But if you are imagining that geopolymer concrete is practiced in a factory environment, so in that case, casting precast elements will bring a lot of great advantages. In fact, the most attractive part of this geopolymer concrete, not only the technological advantage, it's a green material. It does not use Portland cement, and it is using a large extent of industrial waste, particularly fly ash and other material, and thereby we derive benefits for the society. Okay, so these are the essential points I'm trying to bring in this forum, that is precast concrete. And before I sum up my lecture, I would like to just make a brief review that with regard to the precast construction, we have been talking only the green part of that industry. Is there any red part on that side? If you try to find the answer, of course there are, but not all the more very serious issues related to with regard to the precast construction. But we have numerous advantages of using the precast concrete construction, whereas there are minimal disadvantages. In the sense, it needs some factory environment, transportation, erection machinery, these that are. But these are only requirement. It doesn't form a serious handicap already. So there is a limitation on that. So with regard to the material performance, with regard to the structural performance, financial advantage, there are no limitations on that. 100% is assured. And why, in spite of it, why we are not accepting this material? Why we are not trying to extend it? So these of course, people may give answer to that. This situation. One of the reasons, what I believe is that when we are going to do precast construction practice, it needs enormous amount of homework and professional engineering homework has to be made. And if you are able to do that job precisely, in terms of the I said, the activities involved in the precast construction, there are only 4: production, erection, transportation, erection, and construction. But beyond that, we need to have the complete planning, resource planning, material planning, costing sequence, stocking sequence, and transportation sequence, erection, and so on. So this big deal of engineering work is required. And unless we have such a dedicated team of engineers, it is not possible to achieve the desired end result. And possibly that is where we lack, and not that we lack any other things. There is possibly a partial mind block we have about it. That is, we are not ready to get into that venture. See, we listen, we hear that in China, within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they build a very high rise building. Within few weeks in span of time, this and that. But here, if you just look at it, the extent of homework what they did would be really be very tough job they must have done it. But now we should try to foresee, rather try to imagine that, say, even for a small project, we try to do such a homework A to Z, so that we go to the site, we do it within no time, what was done in here. The Indian, railway project recently during COVID period, they constructed, demolished a heritage bridge, brick bridge, and then constructed the box culvert bridges. But box culvert bridge, they had already the cost, so they could easily transport and do it. Similarly, like major projects, particularly on the housing sector, we should focus our attention for the benefit of the society. And in this regard, we have complete guideline with us, complete guideline. Indian standard has come out with various guidelines like design criteria for design and the construction of precast concrete trusses and purlins, code of practice for composite construction, and glossary of relating to modular coordination. Then construction and floors and roofs using precast double curved shell units. That's very much fascinating item it is. And then for modular coordination, okay, modular coordination, I have not discussed anything about modular coordination in my lecture. That's a big separate deal we should discuss about it. So that is separate, we should do it. Vertical coordination, then sub-modular coordination, design and construction of floors and roofs using precast, reinforced pre-stressed concrete, and core slab units is there. Construction with the large prefabricates, design and construction of floors and roof, precast reinforcement, planks and joists, floors and roofs, brick panel, and so on. Okay. Design and construction of roofs using the precast reinforced concrete L panels. So likewise, Indian concrete, in Bureau of Indian Standard, almost the whole a lot of information is available. Nothing is left out. But only thing is now engineers should coherently and unitedly think in an appropriate manner, so that the days to come, we should try to extend or do the practices of the precast construction. If not 100%, a part of the structures may be tried. Part of see, even the regular dwelling housing construction, we are not even using precast lintels, we are not using precast sunshades and so on. So such ventures require very simple deal of work, very simple deal. But still, we are always trying to do in situ. In the in situ construction, we miserably fail. We are not able to maintain the quality of concrete. We are not able to maintain adequate cover, not able to do the curing process, many such things. So at least if we try to practice the precast construction, if not 100%, in a small way, in every simple construction, and over a period of time, we may try to extend it. Unless we really appreciate what are the real technological advantage of that one, and unless we try to enjoy our finished products, we cannot really have the dream fulfilled tomorrow. Okay. So with this presentation, I thank the organizers once again for having given me the opportunity. Thank you so much. And I invite the audience for any doubts or discussion, or even you can share your experience, possibly with the permission of the organizers. We can invite the participants to join in the discussion. Thank you.
Yes, sir. There is a chat box, and I would just like to read through those chat box about various feedback. In fact, the presentation that was given by you was very enlightening because you had clearly mentioned that precast construction is nothing new. It's 5,000 years old, as you rightly said. Like many of the structures that we see, including temples and all, the basic concept is of precast construction itself. That is a very good thing. And you had covered the construction from a sustainability point of view, where durability plays a major role. I think that is where most of the construction professionals should learn from, because many times what we have seen is that when we interact with construction professionals, especially precast items, the most important thing that they are looking for is faster removal of mold and faster production cycle. That is what is being sometimes given more importance rather than durability. So you have touched upon that very important aspect also, which is something very enlightening. Another thing is that you have also brought a practical aspect to it, because many of the precast elements are very difficult to lift. Say for example, if you have a big panel and if the location of the hook is at the wrong place, then you will find that the panel itself breaks. So there is a lot of expertise that is needed actually, in lifting those.
But there are, of course, that is true, but there are guidelines. There are guidelines in the code book. The code book, everything.
In fact, correct. One of our major customers in Bangalore, they also have constructed a precast apartments itself. In fact, they have a different precast, where they have made standard segments. And as you rightly said, many of the countries are trying to squeeze the time. And here, this particular builder also did that, and he could get the advantage. Of course, there were initial hiccups were there, but he was able to overcome that, and then now it is standardized. The thing is that whenever we try to shift from in situ construction to precast, there are some stumbling blocks, which is that the practical issues are there. But when we try to make it,
exactly.
Yeah.
But I feel that if the practicing engineers are able to try to, if they make an attempt to do precast construction, they will start enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
They will start. So that's the crux of the issue that I believe. I want to insist here.
One of the questions that is being asked is, sir, what is the main requirement to cast the precast concrete material like column beam? From SK Anish. Yeah.
It is regular. It is only we have to do it in a factory environment. The regular material for concrete making, of course, the consultant must have suggested a particular grade of concrete. And either you get the mixed proportioning or get the mixed proportioning from any expert, go for some trial specimens of concrete cube, test it at the age of 7 days. You can go for accelerated curing. So within 24 hours, within 24 hours, it is possible that you ascertain the concrete strength and try to extend it. That's what. But otherwise, it is nothing. Precast concrete is not a special concrete. It is a regular concrete, but it is done in a factory environment, controlled conditions. That's it.
Another question is that from Devjit Mitra Roy. I think Mr. Devjit Mitra Roy should be from West Bengal or Orissa. I am also a developer of binder material, and I have reached M90 without addition of any silica fume. So, talking about the cementitious material, I believe.
Okay. It is possible, but advantages of using silica foam too. One is it is pozzolanic material contributing secondary hydration, and being a very fine microfiller, it is able to improve the durability as well. So here I have been repeated. Even on my slide, I said reaching the required strength or ensuring the mechanical bonding. It's not all the more difficult, but ensure that you make the sustainable material, for which certainly microsilica material is required, not as a pozzolanic material. Even if you treat that as a filler, I will appreciate. In fact, we produced M120 concrete, in which we used silica powder, very fine powder, and the extent of powder was close to 12%. the entire dry ingredients, and that was used essentially as a filler. That's what it is.
Another question, I don't think so it is related with this topic. For constructing tall buildings and big structures, what type of pre-stressing technique is used? I think we will cover it in a different, if you want to answer, you can just...
Of course, of course. And, even otherwise, even I cannot directly answer this because pre-stressing of beams and columns separate deal, but then in a frame structure, particularly as in the large structures, that's a different platform someone should.
Yeah, tomorrow we are having a talk on post-tensioning by one of the consultants. So tomorrow basically we can take this question. It is at 4 p.m. tomorrow.
What time?
4 p.m. tomorrow, same time. Yeah, it is post-tensioning. So yeah, I think the question can be taken tomorrow. Another question by Mr. M. Ramanathan of Director ACOM. He wants to know. He has complimented you for a very enlightening talk by Professor S. Kodandaraman. He has first of all complimented your presentation. And he has asked, I am working in metro rail industry where precast construction is largely used. But why in mass housing construction it is not widely used? Countries like Malaysia promotes precast in housing. How this can be done in India?
I know the person who is in front of mine. He has a lot of international exposure and experience in the construction industry. So here, extending construction of mass houses using precast in India, there is no problem. The problem I already indicated that we are hesitating to put the one step forward. Just one step forward. That's what I said. You at least go for precasting your own lintels and sunshades and at least simple components, which will not require a great deal of lifting mechanism or transportation mechanism, so that you save time. And more importantly, in the house construction, we suppose a contractor is building 10 houses here and there, and it delays the process of construction. Sometimes the formwork has not been done, the carpenter did not come, so the concrete has not been laid, lintel concrete, and therefore no further brickwork. Instead, the precast components are already brought at the you just put it in place and go ahead till the roof level, isn't it? So at least they will realize that how important it is. I have not seen a single contractor doing this practice. Similarly, in one situation, there was a very waterlogging area, and in that case, the contractor himself is actually outsider. He has done work in Pondicherry. He said, in Pondicherry, everywhere after digging 2.5 feet or so, we encounter the water table. So in that case, why don't we have precast footing? So it immediately struck his mind, isn't it? So the problem is immediate, instantaneously resolved. Whereas nobody in Pondicherry is trying to at least do in a small house, small building. So it is actually addressing to Mr. Ramanathan's query that for constructing such kind of structures, we should do a good amount of essential the homework, complete homework. So after having done the homework, then go to the field. And so the problem is you are not sitting and doing homework. That's the answer I have. Because
it's a combination of more of planning as well as policy making, more than technical. Because technical, yes, it is possible. In mass construction also it is possible. But the thing is that the will and determination to get it done, as you rightly pointed out. If you have a problem, you have a solution for that. I mean, as simple as that. Like say, for example, waterlogged area which you had given, it is very the same. There is one feedback from Mr. Rangarajan. I am a railway engineer, as rightly pointed out by Dr. S.K. Precasting is extensively practiced. I thank for the excellent session offered. So that is the feedback that he is giving. And another question from Mr. Purnachandra Mohapatra. He would like to know the maximum grade of concrete we can get using geopolymer concrete.
So that easily we can achieve M1800. Easily we achieve. At least in a Portland cement concrete, we have to reach that level. Any individual, any new person has to reach that level in stages. But whereas geopolymer concrete, they can easily reach.
In fact, as you rightly said during your talk, concreting for precast is nothing special. Only thing is that you are doing it under a factory condition where you can use either self-compacting concrete or concrete of any grade. You can use high strength concrete. You can go in for geopolymer concrete. You can design your concrete the way you want it. I mean, that is one of the most important things. So the construction professional must not think that, we are making some special kind of concrete for precast work. It is often a matter of mixed design. And you need to look at what is the strength that you need. If you want a higher one-day strength, you need to design the concrete mix in such a way that you get the highest one. I think that's all. So,
and in fact, in the industrial environment, in the industrial structures, flooring, when we are doing, we do the vacuum dewatering. And here I said no, controlled permeable permanent liner. So if we have that one as well as vacuum dewatering, then we take the performance subtly, we can take the performance of the concrete to a very high level. No doubt about it. It is possible.
Another feedback from one of the participants. Is there any webinar from Ramco regarding performance-based design and guidelines for researchers and construction engineers for development of green concrete? That is a question pointed to me. Yes,
there are two things here interlinking. One is the performance-based design is totally a different topic and a very specialized topic, and serious discussion and deliberation should go on. Green concrete is something different. So these two should not be interlinked. And possibly Ramco cannot take the risk of organizing performance-based design. It's a very complex domain. And,
what we do is that
but nothing wrong.
Yeah, we have invited experts from the field. So we had earlier we had discussion on sustainability in concrete by some of the experts who had given their views on sustainability. So and there was also a few sessions on how to use blending material. In fact, if you use blending material for concreting itself, we are trying to make it a green concrete to a certain extent, if not fully.
Exactly.
Usage of, say, for example, pozzolanic material like fly ash or slag. In fact, there was a discussion on how we can have blended cement, or how can we have ternary material, like more than two blending materials and all that. So we had a discussion by Dr. Manu Santanam of IIT Chennai was there during Monday. So he had actually mentioned, probably I think the participant had not attended that. So we had, of course, all this thing, as you rightly said, cannot be confined into one talk. Maybe multiple talks can be there to cover these various aspects. So,
So at the end of the day, probably all have been covered and addressed all the issues.
So thank you so much, sir, for taking off your time from your busy schedule. I'm sure that you would be having all the online thing. And in fact, there is one more feedback by research scholar T. Venkada Salabadi, research scholar Annamalai University. He is saying that the webinar was very useful for me. Thanks to Ramco and to the speaker. And he is thanking both of us. So this is what, and one more thing is that, are there any precast factories in India? Is one of the
there are factories.
In fact, there are some, even the cottage industries, you will find these hollow block, solid block units also. They are nothing but basically a precast unit at the very elementary level. There are number of hollow block, solid block units are there. Number of people who are making well rings for that matter.
In fact, in Pondicherry, there are already 2 major buildings are completed. 3rd building under construction. And I think the Solinganallur, that housing board project, I think people started occupying.
Yes.
In fact, we took our students twice to that site. Pune-based builder is only did that work. Very good work there.
In fact, we are supplying Ramco Superfast for number of units in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and all to all these hollow block units, which is nothing but kind of precast units only. Because that is why we brought out a specific cement for precast construction itself, and many of them are using it. Some of them are using it for hollow block, some of them are using it for solid block, some of them are making this window ventilators made of concrete mortar. There are so many precast items. Even in Pondicherry also you will find that there are so many precast elements that are being made, and many of them are using it.
Auroville, no?
Correct. So many.
Yes.
So I think precast factory is there.
That is, you can find very architecturally wonderful finishes are ensured in Auroville. So that people when getting
One of the participants was also saying BG Shirke is also a leading precast builder in India. So Mr. Rangarajan was just saying that, he's so naturally, yes, BG Shirke is also involved in a lot of precast. So there are a number of precast factories in India, even in Tamil Nadu, in Krishnagiri, you will find that there is a precast units. And number of construction has also been making use of precast. So there are a number of initiatives that are being taken by a number of individuals. Mr. K. Seno wanted to say, excellent presentation, appreciate our efforts to create awareness on precast technology. Mr. Arun is saying, what will be the cost of precast? Is it economical method for small home? Mr. Arun wanted to know about the economics of using precast element.
For any individual house, that economy is really questionable, really questionable. But then, if you depend on any precast industry wherein they are manufacturing some components, to your specification, you get your components cost. If it is done that way, you can minimize. But otherwise, exclusively for a single project, if you do it, possibly it may not be economically viable.
What is important is the scale. The economies of scale has to be there. If there are a number of this thing, then it becomes very easy. Yeah. So that is what I think. It is very interesting, sir. Thanks for coming and sharing. And we would be having similar webinars like this in the future. In fact, every day we are having one webinar. Yesterday we had a webinar on procurement by Chief Engineer of IIT Kharagpur. And he actually had presented the topic.
The resource planning is not particularly in the construction industry. That is where we are not addressing. We should address.
Yesterday he spoke about contract management, procurement, and all that, which was very interesting.
Okay.
In fact, he had brought in a simple example of how do we buy vegetables, and he compared it with various types of tendering and all that. It was very interesting. And the idea is that how do we arouse curiosity in the mind of the audience so that they take it further. And you kind of
they should. There must be some transformation.
Correct.
Something should get into their mind so that
igniting must happen.
Yes, exactly.
So thank you so much, sir. We don't want to take much of your time. So we almost started on time. We are finishing on time. Mostly only 5 minutes we have taken access. So thank you so much, and thanks all the audience for logging in and sharing your concerns and your comments. It was a good interactive session, and we thank our IT team and our host, Mr. Suraj Kumar, Mr. Pon Prabhu, for having organized this because until there is no without teamwork, this cannot happen. So it is a wonderful coming together of all of us. So thank you so much, sir, and
thank you so much. Thank you.